everybody, got your popcorn, got your drink, your beverage of choice, because it is time for the Witches Movie Coven. Yay! We haven't decided we were doing the jazz hands or what yet. Where witches talk about movies and witchy witch movies. My name is Patti Negri. I am one of your hosts. Thank you guys for coming. Tell your friends you're live. We want you to join in our chat right here because this is live. Let me introduce my co-host. I guess we will start with our birthday boy, Jason. So happy birthday, Jason Mankey. Yay.
Thank you. It's been quite the day here in Northern California where we're all getting ready to be swept away. Yeah, I'm listening. It's all good. It's good to be with you all tonight on my birthday. I love our little group, and I love all the people in the chat too. This has just been so much fun the last couple of months.
This has. Hello, Matthew. Hello, Salem. And our other co-host, Heather, the movie Heather Greene, who wrote the movie on witches in movies. So there you go. Lights, camera, witchcraft. We have working down. We have Richard-Lael Lillard, the gentleman psychic, right here, right there. And
hello.
Hello. And next to him, Courtney Buckley. Yes, ghost bait herself.
That's me.
That's her. And of course, we all have Black Phillip. Have you guys ordered your merch yet? Your Black Phillip t-shirt, your Black Phillip hoodie, your Black Phillip itself? You're welcome. Because it's the time. I think it's cold everywhere. It's cold in California. I got to get me my blanket, my Witches Movie Coven blanket.
Mine just shipped. I'm very excited.
Oh, good.
I ordered it a while ago, but now it's back.
Yeah. You can't rush these things. Good things come to those who wait. Hi, Mary Jane. Hi, everybody. Hi, Jerry. Hi, Banshee. Hi. You guys are great. Hi, Alicia. Okay, well, we talk about all things movies, and Jason had the first choice tonight. So because it is his birthday, and this whole show is about Jason's birthday, so just keep saying it, Jason. What movie are we talking about today, Jason?
So we're talking about The Green Knight. Is our first movie that we're talking about. I was introduced to Sir Gawain in The Green Knight, which is one of the oldest Arthurian myths that we have. In the 10th grade, and I've been visited, gotten put on hold, pandemic, and it was the first movie I saw in the theaters other than Spider-Man, because you can't miss Spider-Man. Maybe Spider-Man was after, whatever. It was one of the first movies I saw after the pandemic, and it's just this really weird ass movie. It's pretty loyal to the actual poem, and it has like a heavy dose of witch in it. It's very much a witch movie for those of you who got to see it. And it's also this really ambiguous movie.
We're losing him.
A lot of people think it has a fascinating, weird-ass film. And it's hypnotic. It's just hypnotic.
It certainly is. And it's very witchy because, I mean, in the opening scenes, the medallions, everything they're wearing, that's why I wore my biggest earrings. It's like, look like the movie. So why did you pick this movie? Just because it's a weird-ass fabulous movie for your birthday? Because it's new? Because it's...
I didn't think that the rest of you had ever seen it. And so I thought if I got to pick it, like, this would be the only way like that we would watch it is if I got to choose the movie. And I mean, it does open with a witch. Sir Gawain's mom is a witch, and she casts this spell that brings the Green Knight in because she's trying to get her silly son to grow up. So
come back.
There's a witch in the Celtic myth and Arthurian legend, and it kind of plays into how a lot of us do witchcraft. So it just seemed like the right thing to do.
Good. Yeah, that beginning ritual was great with the circle and the bones and the skulls and the bearing. I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be
a good crowns with the halos. I was in love.
Yes.
and the Green Knight looks like the Oak King or the Holly King, right? I mean, and that was a conscious decision by the filmmakers to make that sort of reference to the Oak King, Holly King myth. Oftentimes people like to say that Sir Gawain in the Green Knight, the original poem, references that myth, but the myth is actually a lot more recent than that. The myth itself sort of draws on old folklore, but it wasn't a myth that those people had. But they intentionally kind of put it into this movie, and they gave it that kind of look, which I just think is so cool. It's great when witches and pagans are influencing Hollywood, and I think it really comes through in this film.
Yes, I do. I have to admit I have not finished it yet because it's not the fastest paced movie, which I don't mind. I don't mind slow paced movie. What my normal 3 a.m. movie watching after like a 20-hour day, I was like, I can't keep awake. I can't keep awake, under my tent cover. So I was trying to watch it between clients and work today. So I haven't finished it, but I don't mind spoilers because I watch it anyway. But I'm engrossed in it. I'm engrossed in it. But Heather, you are our movie expert, the book expert, but you are not engrossed in it, correct? You are going to be our naysayer today?
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe Jason's gonna have he might storm out, it looks like. I think it's a beautifully shot movie. I think there's some really nice things in it, but and I didn't dislike it. I think there's a lot of interesting things to talk about, but I just, for an enjoyment level, I didn't enjoy it. I think I had some complaints that I would have wanted to see. I would have wanted them to see a more direct and obvious connection marker for the that was Arthur and that connection, because I don't think unless you knew the story or what the story was or how it was connected, that a person going in would actually know that was King Arthur right there, and that the mother was actually supposed to be a Morgan Le Fay type character. I don't think a person would have put those pieces together, which I think makes the film more interesting when you know that. I think it's invariably has a lot more depth to it when you know that it has a connection to that. It didn't have to be obvious, just a little bit more to make that connection. That bothered me. And I just, it was ho-hum for me. I think it was beautiful. And I think there was a couple interesting pieces. And one of the things I wanted to bring up with regard to an interesting piece, and you may have noticed this, is that when he's in the castle towards the end, and she paints the picture of him and hangs it upside down, that's a tarot card. That is the Hanged Man, and he is stuck in that place and not moving and not progressing on his process, on his journey at that point. And I said, oh my goodness, look at it. We have the image of the Hangman. And I would like to go back and watch the film again. I made the connection between the Holly and Oak King. I would like to go back and watch the film slowly and watch for other esoteric and occult imagery that was subtly placed within the story. That is more interesting to me than the film as a whole, as entertainment.
I will say, Heather, I did see one of the occult, Patti brought up the star, the pentagram, but what I thought was really brilliant was when he beheads the Green Knight and the camera is above, now the pentagram is inverted. I thought that was quite brilliant too.
I think they're throughout. I think they're subtle, and I think you have the obvious one with the pentacles and that are all over. You have that as an obvious thing. But then you have, he's holding a holly branch when he walks in, and he looks like the Oak King. And that immediately, from my mind, triggered Oak and Holly King, like Jason said. And then you have the inverted pentacle. You have the obvious hangman imagery. So I think there's these subtle occult things that play out throughout. And I think that's the most interesting part of the movie.
So I have to pop in and Heather, as I love you and I respect you, I did not know the story beforehand. I didn't know the story, and I got it. I got what was happening. I got who that was. It took me a minute. At first, I know roughly the story of King Arthur, but I guess I knew maybe enough. But I was able to, when I first saw them, I think it was when he handed him the sword, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's giving you his sword." Okay, that's. Because they had mentioned in the beginning the sword out of the stone, so it's Excalibur, and then that was oh, okay. I think that's when I started to figure it out. I didn't know the background story at all. I had never read the poem that it was based off of or anything like that. But I think that that's the beauty of A24 movies for me. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. This studio does amazing, amazing, amazing work, but it's those subtleties that they put into the movies that make them amazing. Like the cinematography is incredible, the sound is incredible, the you know, not just the scenery, but like the way that they pipe in, like, you know, background sound, not even just the music, sorry, but the way that they pump in the background sounds. I think I loved it for that, because I haven't met an A24 movie that I haven't loved yet. It wasn't even the weirdest one I've seen, even though it was really weird. But for me, it was like I was engrossed in all of the things, and I was engrossed in the story, and I feel like I missed a lot of the subtleties, which is why I think it is a great movie, I think, for a rewatch, because I'd like to go back now that I'm not like hooked on the story and waiting to see what happens and look for all those things. I did see, like Richard-Lael said, that in the inverted pentagram, I missed the Hanged Man. But there was all those little pieces that I was picking up as we were going, because I was thinking of it in terms of talking about it for tonight. So I was looking for some of it, but I did miss other things. But I think I thought it was really well done. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, thank you. So for anybody goes, what is an A24 movie? Because you jump into that. Tell anybody who might not know.
Oh, so A24 is the production studio, I think, but they've done movies like Hereditary and Midsummer. The Lighthouse is probably the weirdest one I've seen.
That is weird.
But they're
that was a really weird movie.
But yeah, anything that they put their hands on that I've seen, and I'm like, I have to thank you, Jason, because I didn't even know that this movie existed, nor that it was an A24 movie. So that flew entirely under my radar, and I love their movies. So as soon as I looked it up and I saw that that's who had done it, I was like frothing at the mouth to watch it.
It almost feels more like a little art house movie than anything else. I mean, it's so wondrously weird, and it is slow and plotting, but it's a sumptuous slow and plotting. There's so much to look at on the screen. There aren't a lot of characters, but while you're watching it, you're trying to like put all the characters together because they kind of overlap in several ways. Like one actress will play a couple of different people. It's just a fascinating little puzzle box, and you can interpret it in various ways when you're done watching it. Like, oh my God, he's a failure, or maybe this did work out. And I loved that comment about how Sir Gawain is like 1 foot in this world and 1 in the world of the dead. Like he's already dead in parts of the movie. It's just fantastic. And Dev Patel, who's the actor in it, is just, he does such a great job. He does just embodies this character, and you can see all of his flaws. And he's a really flawed character. In a lot of ways, he's not even likable, which I like movies with unlikable characters.
I have to say one of my, oh, sorry.
Go on. That's it.
I was just going to say my favorite line from the movie was when he went into that house, and was it Winifred? And he thought she was a ghost, so he reached out to touch her face, and she was like, "Don't touch me, you're a knight, you should know that, you should know better." Like, I screamed out loud, because it was just like, I was so engrossed in like the darkness of it, and then she said that, and I was like, that was funny. Oh my God, like, yes, go Queen. But I like that one.
My favorite part was the marionettes.
Yeah.
A little Punch and Judy almost.
Yeah,
that's exactly Punch and Judy.
I watched that, Richard-Lael. I thought, marionettes like Richard-Lael.
Fellas over here.
I just assumed Richard-Lael would like this movie because it's sort of a sad Christmas movie.
It was great. It was. I enjoyed the fact that it took place on Xmas. I thought it was brilliant.
In the poem, it takes place New Year's Day, which is a subtle thing. But as a fan of the original source material, that did make me a little bit sad. Like, if you can't be true to a 14th century poem, what can you be true to?
from what I understand, there's a lot of things that they weren't true to, but you know,
Yes.
I don't think when you're adapting anything, whether it's 14th century or whether, you know, you have to make it so it's a film, so it works as a film, so people are going to want to sit in the theater, and so that 21st century people are going to want to watch this story. So you have to change things up. And capture the spirit more than anything. And I don't know, because I don't know the poem. I am not a scholar of Arthurian legends, although I have some good friends that are. And you know, I enjoyed it to a degree. It's not one of those that I'm going to be cheering for like I do some other films. So, but it's beautiful in its own weird kind of way. And that's what if I go back, I'm more interested in it as a film historian and a film scholar than I am just for entertainment. And I think going back and looking at the text and looking at the imagery alone and finding those occult things would be really fascinating. I almost wanted to do that, but I couldn't. You know, wait a minute, is there any other tarot cards purposely placed within here? Are there made, you know, you have the crowns, the circle crowns. I mean, there's things that are there. I know they're there, and it's spotting them, Easter eggs, so to speak.
When he's in the forest, he has the face of death. So there's the death card. So I would assume maybe that would be another tarot reference.
Yep. I'm thinking there's more than, and as soon as I saw that one imagery, I'm like, whoa. Now we're talking about there's some depth to this that needs to be more investigated. It's not just another retelling of that Sir Gawain story. There's a lot of little things, and that's what you expect from this type of these producers and this director and this thing. That's because that's what the other films, like Courtney said, they're weird and they have this strange depth to them that sometimes you get and sometimes you don't.
I think that's the beauty of them, honestly. Like, that's how all of the films for me have been. There's those subtleties that they just put into everything that is up for interpretation, however you want to interpret it. And I agree it was slow, but I think being as big of a fan of those string of movies as I am, that slowness to me didn't feel like I was going to fall asleep. It felt like it was feeding into the anxiety and the you know, anticipation of the rest of the movie. So it was like, even though it was rushing through the year, you know, we didn't watch him go through that whole year. It was still like, I can feel it in my body already, just like stretching it out and like holding my breath and waiting for the next thing to happen. And oh my God, what is going to happen? And, you know, thinking, oh, this went this way. Like when he was, he was robbed and he was tied up on the ground. And it showed him with the death face. I was fully like, oh, he died right there. And the rest of the movie is going to be, you know, just his afterlife or whatever. But like, that's what I look for in those. Like, I try to find those little plot twists. So that's what I was focused on the whole time, was finding those things. So I don't know. I think I liked how slow it was because I feel like it built it up better.
I want to be clear, is that it's not the pace of the movie that bothered me at all. Like that, I not at all. A slow movie is not a problem. If it's gripping, the story's there and the imagery's great, you can sink into the imagery in the moments it's taking to move to another shot. I mean, if the imagery's good. So that was not I just, you know, entertainment wise, I just was like, okay, I see what this is doing. But again, I think there's Easter eggs in there that are really fascinating that give this make you want to have a second look at it from that perspective. So yeah, it wasn't the pace that was my problem. I don't need a fast-paced, you know, Rambo film to be entertained.
Dear Matthew in Salem, he made a really good point that the slowness is like a millworking. How you were even a millworking is one of my favorite practices to do, where you're building and you're building and you're building of the energy. But thank you, Matthew, because that's it. The slow pace, it was a build, wow, Courtney said, but to take it into the witchcraft, it was very much like a millworking. I like that. Now, our producer Rob just put up here is the way Arthur holds his hands, which he did that very handy thing. Is that possibly a card, or how a king stands in one of the
when he holds his hands?
I didn't know if it was a card, but I think King Arthur in this movie sort of represents, as he gets older, the decaying of his kingdom and Camelot, because it feels like this is a kingdom that is peaked already, and everything is sort of coming down and on the down low. And as Arthur and Guinevere age, everything ages with them, and it sort of breaks down. And they're sort of representative of that. I might, it's one of those things, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it reminded me of sort of like that idea of the divine king or something. You have to die every once in a while for the kingdom to thrive, right? Your leader has to be ritually killed, so to speak.
So delightful, so charming, so chilling.
Yeah. So killed,
and I'm not a scholar. I'm going way back onto the chat room. I'm not a scholar of the poem or knowing the poem or anything like that. But Mary Jane, our friend Mary Jane King, said that the poem is true at carrying the holly and looking like the Holly King. So that's within the poem as well. So
the one thing that's
that's not what I hated.
Hello. Lovely director.
Because I'm like designing new postcards now with our producer Rob. The movie cover, the poster did not represent the film at all to me. It looked like I'm going to wait for like Batman or Superman.
Yeah.
Yep. That is so not what the film represents to me. The font, the pictures, the colors. It's like, what?
Yeah,
I would
very
never
different.
That film. Thank you, Jason. I love that. I would never like scrolling through Showtime.
I'm apparently very weird. I mean, I knew this film was on my radar for a year before it came out. I remember looking at the first trailers and going, "Oh my gods, I cannot wait!" And they're.
Oh.
There are people who were in line to, different things for different people. It's all good.
The interesting thing about this film, just overall in my study, is that it's very rare that a Arthurian film made it into my discussions in American films, because it isn't. You would think it would be something that's really popular in American films in terms of witches, because obviously I didn't study ones that were not witches. But it wasn't. And one of the things that's interesting is when I went to sort of try to pull some of those movies in, I chatted with John Matthews, who's an Arthurian scholar, and another friend of mine, Virginia Chandler. And they were very adamant to tell me over and over that Morgan Le Fay is not a witch. Morgan Le Fay is a priestess. Morgan Le Fay is this. Morgan Le Fay is that. She is not a witch. She does not belong. They call her a sorceress in some places. So aligning her with witchcraft, although she is in a lot of cases, the scholars say she is not traditionally considered a witch. So I find it really interesting, because there are a lot of stories, and I always associated her with witchcraft, and I always considered her a witch. But if you ask, the scholars, they're going to say, no, she was not a witch.
She's not a witch.
Movie,
she's your wife.
She's not a witch. But they just made her look like
I love
one.
that movie.
Right, but I mean, if she's a sorceress and she's doing magic, and she's doing magical person, potatoes. What's a word?
Yeah. But the potatoes. When you're an Arthurian scholar, you have to separate them out. Apparently, I always called her a witch too, Patty. I always said she's a witch, but she is a sorcerer. She's a priestess. She's all these things, but she is not a witch. So, like I said, they just made her look like one. And in this movie, though, she is called a witch. They use the word in this movie.
That's interesting that you bring that up, Heather, because I'm trying to think of Arthurian movies, and there aren't as many as you would think for something that's in the public domain. And a lot of times they strip the magic out of it entirely, or really Merlin is the only figure with any magic whatsoever. And and it was really nice to see one of these movies with the magic like up front and really prominent. And I would have always said that Morgan Le Fay is a witch. Like, use magic stuff. That's witch enough for me, I think.
Okay, so everybody's commenting. I love it. You guys, thank you that we've got from Robert Hicks, Morgan Le Fay is technically a fairy, as her name is Le Fay. There you go. Morgan Le Fay is associated with the Druids. Druids are witches, right? I mean, technically. So anyway, I've loved you guys. Keep giving us your opinions, whatever they be. Monty Python, anyone?
You know, I was.
I think there was
say
a
that
reference.
this movie does remind me of Monty Python and the Holy Grail in some ways, because you can see that they did not have a giant budget to shoot the film, and it shows up. I mean, there's the very limited cast. There's a very limited sets. And in places, it really did remind me of the Holy Grail, which is not a bad thing, because that movie is great in its own way.
No, it's great.
And, you know, there are sort of witches in that movie. Sort of. I mean, at least
they
we
made
know
it look like one.
Yeah, at least we know how to find out how, you know, what witches are, thanks to Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
She turned that one guy into a nude, I believe.
He got better.
Yeah, he got better.
I've got 2 people voting her as a fairy now. Haley, her Irish mythology, she's a fairy. So, fairy, witch, priestess, sorcerer.
That's one of the great things about Arthurian myth, though, is that it's always been so adaptable and so flexible, and you can write new stories with it. You can find different takes on it. I mean, that's what made the Mists of Avalon so powerful. I mean, you had the sort of the original story, and then Mary Zimmer Bradley took it into an entirely different place and made it really resonate with modern witches and modern pagans. You know, growing up, I thought that was like one of the most important pagan books anyone could ever read, right?
I read it twice.
Yeah,
I read it twice, and it definitely was influential and inspirational for me. That particular book, I just gave it to my daughter actually to read it, and I think also one of the ones that I hear about a lot and also get asked a lot, did you talk about this movie in your book, is Excalibur. Not a US movie, which is what I always say, but there was a lot of magic in that movie, and including Morgan Le Fay and Merlin. And that one is overdone, dark. There's a lot of bad things you can say about that movie, but there's just something about it you gotta love. And a friend of mine and I dressed up like Merlin and Morgan Le Fay for Dragon Con a few years ago, and that was quite fun. walked around dressed up like them. So that's another one that's pretty popular. And then, of course, there's Sword in the Stone, the Disney version, which came out in the 60s. Oh, Jason, just take a deep breath right there.
And I love Disney. And
Madam Mim.
I love Disney films, and that movie should work on so many levels, and it just doesn't work very well.
You know, I'm going to tell you, Jason, I actually can't stand Disney, but I love Merlin.
Well, why am I not surprised by this? I mean, really.
I loved Madam Mim. She was my favorite. I loved all of it. I loved the Sword in the Stone. I loved that version.
I feel like I am Madam Mim, so I feel like I take direct offense to that statement, Jason. It's your birthday. Maybe I'll let it slide, but I don't know.
Well, I hadn't pulled my contrarian card out yet tonight, so I had to now, laying it down. I think even when I was 8 or 9, though, I was such a serious Arthurian myth fan that I really wasn't ready for something that I felt kind of insulted my intelligence. So I really wasn't ready for anything that just felt like it was playing down to me. And I did.
I love The Rescuers.
Yeah, The Rescuers are great. So I had a drive-in theater. So I think that's why it disappointed me. I wanted something a little more like action adventure-y with the Sword in the Stone, and I didn't get that, right?
What is not action adventure about turning into a fish and trying to escape being eaten by a bigger fish? Like that's.
Was it in Mort to Arthur? No, it wasn't in Mort to Arthur. I was very serious as a young person. Very serious.
Clearly.
Had issues.
It's your pretty hair. We'll get
very serious.
Away with it. I forget the rules we made about Jason's show. We have to agree with them, or we don't agree with them. We had rules. I don't remember what.
I'm sorry.
There are no rules. Please don't agree just to agree. Heather's already blown that tonight anyway. So it's all good.
I'm purposely disagreeing with everything Jason says just for his birthday.
I'm on board with that plan now that I know this about Jason.
Heather, I'm already married. I don't need more of that in my life.
hope she's listening.
She just got home, so she might be. Yes.
Hi, Mrs. Jason. Hi, Mrs. Jason. I want to go back. I think we've probably, if anybody else has anything to say about this film, we've probably talked it out. I want to get back to Amanda had said she watches our show to get movie recommendations. So I think we could go there next. But before we go there, do we want to do an early ones up, ones down on the Green Knight? Okay.
Yes.
Now, everybody out there on our chat room, wherever your chat room are, you tell us one's up or one's down. So, the Green Knight, one's up, one's down. Up, up.
Oh, Richard-Lael, you're killing me. You know.
And we don't see anybody voting yet in the room. Wait, are they voting? Disney version of Starting to Recall. I don't know if anybody else is voting, but we have up, and a lot of neutral. Flailing feathers. One sideways. Haven't seen it.
Sideways one.
Sideways one. We got sideways ones up. We don't have any downs though, do we?
No downs.
Really
we have no downs.
It's not a down.
No downs.
No downs. So we again, I would say it's certainly worth watching if you like witchy movies and you like Arthurian tales.
I will watch it again. I will watch it again so that I can go back through and, well, for one, I have to finish it. And then also, I too want to go back through and pick out all of the occult things.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
is definitely worth watching if you haven't seen it. And even with my, ho-hum response to it, I definitely think it's worth watching. So
I also think that you definitely need to be prepared before you bite off a movie like this. Like if it's not normally your cup of tea to watch something it's not that out there, but it's weird. And if you're not normally someone who likes a movie that you really have to think on while you're watching it, it's probably going to feel real slow for no reason.
And it's a movie too where you can't be distracted. You really have to turn off the lights, make sure your phone is far away, and just sort of dive into the weirdness of it.
Yeah. So thumbs up, thumbs sideways, no thumbs down. But if you like what we're talking about, check it out. So for Amanda, who watches our show.
It's one of those movies I was really glad I saw in the theater.
That's
a good point, Jason. I would have liked to see it in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not good on my telephone under the covers. So I moved on to my medium big screen TV.
Yeah.
But Amanda said she watches our show to get movie recommendations. So I'm assuming that means witchy movie recommendations. We haven't really done that yet. Like if we want to do our top couple, I know we haven't planned this out, but we're good at off the cuff. If everybody wants to say their top 2 or 3 witchy movie recommendations for Amanda.
Ooh.
And then stuff that we can talk about it, or something. Anybody wants anything that we talk about next on the show? Anybody?
I can go.
Okay.
I think I have different witch movie tastes depending on what mood I'm in. But if I want like that feel good, homey, boost my spirits witchy movie, I love Practical Magic for that. But if I want to feel like I just dug my hands in the dirt and like rolled around in the woods naked under the full moon, then I watch The Witch.
Perfect.
And oh, speaking of, I'm so sorry. Did anyone see the brown Philip in the beginning of The Green Knight?
Yeah, several of them.
Yes.
And he was fighting with the goose.
Yeah. The first thing I did was scream. I was like, brown Philip!
We're waiting for the purple Philip, though. We're waiting for the purple Philip on a film.
In a film, yeah.
Actually, your 2 choices, along with Wizard of Oz, would be mine too. Practical Magic for that, the fun whatever, The Witch for that, and then of course the classic Wizard of Oz. So yeah, I can't get too creative. Somebody get creative beyond that.
I have to tell you, it's going to come to no surprise. My favorite witch movie that I watch over and over and over 1,000 times is The Addams Family, both 91 and 93. Those are my 2 witch movies.
So I'm going to throw out some weird ones. My first one is a documentary from 1970 called Legend of the Witches that features Maxine and Alex Sanders. If you want to know what the occult world looked like 50 some years ago. God, I feel really old right now. If there's a DVD version of this just released recently with a lot of features, and it's really cool.
And what's the name of it again? You're kind of frozen in and out. So you guys, it's not you, it's Jason.
And we don't think of it as a witch movie. Legend of the Witches from 1970. And it's a documentary that has Alex and Maxine Sanders, who at the time in England were the world's most famous witches. And it's really worth checking out. And there was a new release on DVD/Blu last 2 or 3 years because it had been out of print for a while. And then my other weird choice is The Doors in the Doors movie, because Patricia Keneally, who was a practicing witch, was a girlfriend of Jim Morrison, and they had a hand fasting ceremony, and it shows the hand fasting ceremony, and it looks like witchcraft. And then the whole movie is sort of written with these overtones of Jim is a Native American shaman, which hasn't aged particularly well, but also that Jim is Dionysus. And there are some scenes where you like see Jim's head flash, and then you see Dionysus's head in there and stuff, and it's cool as shit. And I love that movie, and it's a trip. Get yourself a glass of, like, a bottle of wine, not a glass, and sit down and watch The Doors. It's a great witch movie.
I have to agree with you there. And I've never watched it except for the hand fasting, because I do hand fasting. I never thought of it witchy movie, but it totally is a witchy movie, other than the hand fasting and her character. Wow.
The Doors are like such a, like, this should have been my other suggestion for a movie tonight. It's totally, I'll have to turn 51 and we'll have to do the show again on January 4th. But it's, the Doors, I think, are like one of the best bands for ritual, because it's so hypnotic and so different. A lot of other bands don't. To me, they're like one of my 5 favorite sort of magic of all time.
Beautiful. We're losing
done
you.
A lot of rituals to
Jason,
the Doors over the years.
You come back. Okay.
Yeah. The weather's bad tonight. I think it's hurting my connections.
I think it's bad everywhere. Have you spoken to us? Have we spoken on Suspira 1970? Have we spoken that? We've mentioned it, but we haven't talked about it yet.
We should pick, that's Italian. We should pick that one. I think they just redid it. We could do that for a show, because those are really interesting, something very different than a lot of the movies that we do, which are mostly American. But I think I'm gonna throw out a couple films, which, you know, mostly the films we've done have been recent ones. Most of the ones you guys have listed, I would say, are on definitely top 10. Love the Doors movie for tons of reasons, not just its witchy aspect, because the Doors are amazing. But I am gonna throw out 2 films from the golden era, which are classic Hollywood witch films, which are Bell Book and Candle and I Married a Witch. And I'm throwing those out because those are 2 of the early, most classic witch films that we haven't spoken about here. And if you want to see old Hollywood doing the witch thing, it's very different. And I love golden era Hollywood films particularly, and everything about golden era Hollywood. Not everything about golden era Hollywood, but the movies are fantastic. And so those 2 are classic. If you want to look back in history a little bit, see how they were doing it in the 50s and the 40s, and they're sort of precursors narratively to Bewitched, which comes out a decade after that. So those are the 2. Of course, you know, The Wizard of Oz is always my favorite. If anybody asks what's my favorite witch movie, I always say Wizard of Oz, like you, Patty. But I think really, when you said, can you list a bunch of weird films? I could probably list a lot of weird films because of my book. So if you really need recommendations, I have, this is the greatest part. You're saying, what movie should you choose? I don't know. In the back of every chapter, every decade, I have a list, and you could literally just watch each one. And whenever anybody gets my book and they're like, oh, this is great, I think, don't just read the book sitting in your bed. read a section, watch all the movies, because it's so much fun to watch all them, and they're all in here. Now, things like Suspiria are not in here because it's not American, and I only did American films, so we definitely should touch on some of the British, some of the Italian, because there's some really great ones out there. German, Hexen. We can talk about Hexen, the old famous one.
Yes, Hexen.
That one is very special and very different, so that's another one to watch. Death Becomes Her was fun.
Yes.
There's a lot of.
I love Death Becomes Her. I'm so obsessed with Death Becomes Her, but mostly I know this is off topic. Death Becomes Her is one of my favorites because it is a direct response to Janacek's 1927 opera, the the Markropolis Affair, which tells a story about a woman 300 years ago who was given this potion who made her live, and then she's lived and she changes her name but always has the same initials, and then 100 years later she's changed her name, and 100 years later she has to retake the potion, and she goes, "This is horrible. I hate this." So I love Death Becomes Her. It's not really a witch movie, but it is about potions. So yes, I love
it. Has an element.
It has an element.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was it. And The Secrets of Roan Inish, someone said too, is a great movie. I haven't seen it in years, but I remember loving it. That was a really, really great film with Irish lore. So that's good. Selkies and stuff. Another great one.
Our producer says The Nine Gates. That's a really good one. I enjoyed that one. The Ninth Gate, I think, was with Depp, right? I think that one was with Depp. I like that one a lot, actually.
Yeah, and more recently, I see someone says The Love Witch. The Love Witch is 2016. That's a really interesting indie film to watch. There are and who said it? They said from the 70s. She captures a 70s feel, and there are a lot of great 70s witch films, but those are great. Oh, well, how could we not even, if we're listing great witch films to watch, how could we not say Rosemary's Baby? You're talking about 70. I mean, the original Rosemary's Baby, not the one in the 2000s, is absolutely, well, there was, but we don't talk about it.
No. Like people tell me there was a fourth Indiana Jones movie. I don't.
The Rosemary's Baby and Carrie are two of the most brilliantly made witch films of the 1970s, or 68. We're counting that 70s, whatever that period of time. So those are another two. But
absolutely, hands down.
Rosemary's
Baby. Actually, that's one of my favorites, and I quote that one all the time.
You know, I've never seen it.
Hail Satan! Guy is not his father.
Correct yourself, Courtney. Correct yourself. That's funny.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I assume we'll be watching it soon, and you have
and talking about it.
Seen the original Wicker Man, though, right, Courtney?
Nope. Was that the? Wait. Isn't that the? Is the Nick Cage? Nick Cage was in that one, right?
Oh.
No. That is the original one was 1971, and it's a British film.
But is Nick Cage in a movie called The Wicker Man?
What am I remembering? He is not. There are people who think that he was in a movie called The Wicker Man. But he really was in a movie called The Wicker Man. It's in that plane with the fourth Indiana Jones movie. These things don't exist.
Got it. So I did not see that one then.
The bees, not the bees. No, it doesn't exist.
And I did not hate that one because it doesn't exist, but I didn't hate it because I didn't watch it.
In the Jason universe,
Right.
Tonight I create my own world. These things do not exist in my world.
Can I throw out maybe a controversial? I know it's not movies, but like a TV.
Yeah.
Maybe controversial take. As someone who grew up on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, I live for the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I love the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and I hate Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Why is that controversial?
Everyone I talk to thinks I'm crazy because I grew up with Sabrina, like the original Sabrina.
I think the new take is brilliantly done. Brilliantly done.
Way better than
Way
the 90s.
better than Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the TV show from the 90s, had its point. It was a point in time. It lived in a space that it was meant to be lived in. It was, and I talk about that in my book. It is very much placed there. Is it groundbreaking in and of itself? No, absolutely not. Sabrina the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina breaks boundaries, and that's the difference. It's a way better a show, just in what it's doing and how it's filmed. The other one was a sitcom. But I love Sabrina. I love her history, and I would love to do a whole show on Sabrina. We could talk Sabrina, the Teenage Witch from the 60s, 70s, all the way to today. She is fantastic.
We should.
All her incarnations.
Okay, I'm just reading from somebody from John Stark said The Wicker Man was a point of reference with John Voight. I don't know which Wicker Man. A point of reference.
John Voight.
Yeah.
I like
Remember,
John.
remember
he
there
in
was
the
only one.
I don't.
There's only
It was
one.
not in the original 1971. The only. Excuse me, Jason. The only one. He was not in that one.
Not in the one that didn't exist that other people did.
There's one Christopher Lee, and that is the only one. Britt Eklund, Christopher Lee. That's it. That's the only
Christopher
one.
Lee.
Yeah, music by Magnet. That's
It's a great.
I didn't see that one.
the only one that exists.
We listed some good films.
Yes.
You know.
So we would love you guys' input. We always say this, and no one ever gives us input. But if you want us to talk about, we really do, like specific films, and we're moving into TV shows. And we even said on occasion we'll move into fun books and plays.
I will say too that if when it comes to sort of TV shows, it's not really witches per se, but it feels like witches. If you haven't watched The Sandman on Netflix, you need to watch The Sandman on Netflix, which
Really? I don't know The Sandman. Ooh. Tell us about The Sandman, Heather.
Well, I really can't because I only gave it 4 episodes, and then I was like, I'm done.
The best show of 2020.
The gods have cut him out, Heather.
Holy
On his
crap!
birthday, the gods have cut him out.
I'm
Dick.
I like Neil Gaiman. I love that, but I just couldn't get into it. I just felt like it was like overdone. I'm not even getting into this story. I don't know what the heck. It was just.
I love that Jason is having a bigger meltdown
Ari,
on his internet.
we are done.
Boy,
Richard-Lael, it looks like you and I are in the same ship tonight.
we are in a ship together. We are definitely.
We're not afraid to be contrary.
She didn't like.
It's like,
Frozen.
okay,
he's frozen.
Sandman.
he's frozen.
She's dead to me.
So Jason broke up with Richard-Lael last week. He's breaking up with you, Heather.
Where's my tissues? Hold on.
It's just painful. It's just painful.
I'm sorry. And on your birthday, too.
I wanted to bring up another film. Maybe, Jason, maybe you will love this one. Maybe we can reconcile. Another witch film that I really, 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 really love is Race with the Devil, 1975 with Loretta Swit. Are you familiar with this one?
No.
It's
No.
so bad and great at the same time. So Loretta Swit and these other people, they go on this dream vacation in this RV, and they end up out in the middle of nowhere, and these satanic witches sort of stalk them and then get them redirected, and they come back around, and you basically have set the place on fire. Their dream RV is on fire at the end of the film. It's so bad. I love it. Race with the Devil, 1975.
I'm watching that one.
It's so bad.
That's the best kind. all of the witch movies, Richard-Lael, all of the witch movies from the 70s, with the exception of the two we said, are so bad. But that's what makes them worth watching. It's true. I'm watching.
Maybe,
yeah.
Jason, maybe if you watch that one, maybe you'll agree with me. Maybe we can all make up if you enjoy Race with the Devil, 1975.
He's still beside himself at this point.
And Jason is now remaining frozen.
The lack.
He's still.
I was
on it.
bored.
Oh.
Fantasy for fantasy's sake. I'm sorry.
As
And I
Tabitha
like Neil
said,
Gaiman, so
Gwendolyn
I was
Christie,
surprised.
go back, watch the last.
Oh,
Okay, I'm watching The Last Something.
Enter Sandman.
episode of the season. It's not connected.
I love that song.
I love that one person commented that
There it is.
the Jason freezing added to the interest of makes the show better.
I like that poster. That was amazing. That's so on point. Thank you for that. We have great producers. Look at that. That is so 70s.
Oh my god.
And you first have to watch the trailer because it talks about these two couples going on their dream vacation in some crappy camper with fake wood paneling and a microwave.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that one. That means we have to find it.
Yeah, well, we can do a list. I could give you up a list of those type of films, and we can do a whole show on the really cheesy, terrible witch films from the early 1970s.
Heather, you are speaking my language. The worse it is and the cheesier it is, the more I love it.
Yep, witchploitation is what I call it, and our producer just put that up. But that's the term I think I use in my book, or I use in was witchploitation exactly. We will do it. We will do that.
FYI, for anyone interested, you can rent it or buy it for $3.99 on Amazon Prime.
Sounds like we're getting ripped off.
No, absolutely not.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
It feels like a movie.
Okay. Here's another one. Blood Orgy of the She-Devils. The same period of
We
time.
should all watch it at the same time in a live tweet. It really.
Title alone, Heather. The title alone. I'm on board. Say that one more time.
I don't know.
Blood Orgy of the She-Devils.
Ooh.
I'm in.
Another one. Blood Sabbath. I mean, there's a string of them, and they're all the same type of thing, and they're just terrible movies, but you just can't look away.
The movie poster for this one is the best thing I think I've ever seen in my life.
Which one is that?
The Blood Orgy of the She-Devils. Oh my god. It's so good. Oh, I'm watching
sure our
that.
producer is rapidly looking for it. Well, as we are getting close to the end, we do want to wish everybody, besides Jason's birthday, it's our first show of 2023.
Woo!
Hey, the Witches Movie Coven made it into a new year, and we want to thank everybody for listening and watching and telling your friends about it. Now, we've had a little problem with Facebook. I don't know if we want to talk about it now, but Facebook doesn't like us very well. So you may not find us a lot on Facebook, but you'll always, here we go. We got bats, we got vampires. That's good. Okay,
It's
so
good.
back to, if you
So
don't
excited.
find us on Facebook, we've been sent to our room.
Yes.
Over again. So, but you will always find us on YouTube. And so far, we could post nicely things to remind you to go to YouTube. But, sign up for whatever you can sign up for to know that we are here. We all have newsletters. We all have stuff. So let's keep going with 2023. So in a couple minutes that we have left, if anybody has anything that they want to say, where you can find them, what you have going on, all these authors, any book signings, any TV shows, let's start with Heather.
Okay, let's see. I will eventually be posting where I'm going to be. I'll be doing some live stuff, attending some conferences come spring. But for the next couple months, I'm in the Atlanta metro area, doing my witchy stuff here, working with authors, because I am an acquisitions editor at Llewellyn, and working on some articles as a journalist. If you want to read any of the articles I write, which are usually about witches and occult and tarot readers and whatnot, you can go to my website. They're all there, heathergreene.net. And I'm on the socials, various ones. All the links are there. And I'm usually Heather Greene 01 in most of them. So you can find me Instagram, Twitter, and follow me. And I will be posting our YouTube when it comes out, and also adding more stuff to my website, so you can see what I'm up to. Please reach out and let's talk movies.
Please do. Courtney.
That's me. You can find me watching Blood Orgy of the She-Devils, I think, or on all the socials. Yes,
You're blocked.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I play horror video games and murder video games on Twitch at the Themes, and you can play along or scare me with sound alerts. You can find me on Instagram, or you can find Black Phillip, and my new and very much requested Not a Doll that we talked about before.
It's a doll.
I really messed up my own self with this, because I should never have put it on the screen, because inundated with messages about the doll. Or Facebook or whatever. I also stream this on YouTube, so if you ever have any trouble finding it, at the Themes on YouTube. And of course, you can find me as Ghostbait on Scared and Alone at scaredandalone.com.
Perfect. Thank you. Jason.
Jason, first of all, thank you all for the birthday wishes.
Witches!
This has been really fun. This is like oh my God, I'm so happy because I love you all so
Oh no.
much. I'm this in another week. And I'll be at Convocation in Detroit right now, the world's largest pagan festival at the end of February. So I'm really excited about that. And New Orleans next weekend, if you live there, because I'm celebrating my effing birthday for the next 10 days. Yeah.
Yay. Well, happy birthday. All right.
Happy birthday.
Richard-Lael.
I am Richard-Lael Lillard. You can find me anywhere, thegentlemanpsychic.com. You can find me at Richard-Lael Lillard. There's only one way of spelling it. There may be fakes out there. I'll never contact you for a reading. You have to do all the work. I just listen. Anyway, so you can find me everywhere. I've got a few things coming up late in the spring too, but I can't go into that yet. But I've got some things coming up, and just look for me. I'll post it. I'll keep you all posted on my Facebook, since I still have one. Christine Roth, I still have
one. Thank you. And I'm Patti Negri. You can find me at pattinegri.com. All the socials, and like Richard-Lael, those of us who do readings and stuff, there's fake me's. I will not contact you or think you need a reading or tell you I've been thinking about you and I'm going to give you a special. No. I do not, but Patti.Negri on Instagram. Actually, I'm kind of verified everywhere now, finally, but that doesn't stop the fakes. I thought it would, but it doesn't. So you could get to the real run from pattinegri.com. So join us every Wednesday. And on every Monday, I still have The Witching Hour, my podcast where you see fabulous guests like everybody right here. The Witching Hour, I have wonderful guests and authors and witchy people and magical people, and it drops every Monday on YouTube and video and on Paraflix and everywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get your podcasts. Now somebody did just mention before we go there, and I'm going to be in the Caribbean cruise for the Dark Waters cruise. I'm going to be at Mass Parrot, all this stuff coming up. So for each of us, find us on our websites and sign up whatever newsletters we have, because it's just too much to tell you here, and we want to see you live and video. But somebody said we were supposed to talk about something else and we forgot.
Doctor Strange.
Which we'll get to it in the next couple of weeks. It's not going away. This is all my fault. So this is my fault. This is like my stupid episode and it went off the rails. Mostly because Heather's terrible and does forgivable sins. I don't know.
Well,
I'm not feeling bad.
I hope we never have a show that doesn't go off.
I mean,
I know, isn't that kind of our thing?
That's our thing.
Mhm.
So in our mass seconds we have left, besides showing our Black Phillips and showing what we do, we have one more thing to do. And we hope all you people out there, because I'm trying to think of fun things, like one day we're going to do a live thing where people can join us and we do movies together. I don't know, East Coast, West Coast, in the middle somewhere. But I think we're also going to have a cackle contest. So
I'll
I'm
lose,
working on
'cause I
that.
cough every time.
Oh, well, don't cough this time. So on that note, everybody on the count of 3, give us your best witch's cackle. 1, 2, 3. Thanks for watching the Witches movie, Coven.